Of course, as a kid, I think it wasn't something that I paid that much attention to. I was very aware, though, that in previous generations, all the great violinists, most of them were male. David Oistrakh, Heifetz, Menuhin. Even recently, now I'm starting to do these playlists on Spotify, and I was doing a playlist for my favorite violinists. And I wanted to include a mix of older generation plus contemporaries. And I realized, it's so hard to find, the really famous female violinists of the past generation. And we can't go back in time and change that, but that's just the way it was. And I'm very happy to see that there is a huge difference between, the albums that were recorded back then, the artists that were featured and highlighted back then versus now. There is a huge variety of female artists, female violinists. Many of the world's top and leading violinists now are female. In Korea, where I'm from, there are so many young people learning classical music, and it's a big part of their lives. And there's so many young boys and girls loving music and playing it and learning it, and I think it's so great to see that there is a development, there is improvement. The great orchestras, the historical orchestras, for a time, they were very reserved about hiring females, hiring minorities, but now there are actually very few orchestras that have reservations about this. And it's definitely changing for the better. It's so great now to be able to work with conductors who are from all different backgrounds, male, female, from various ethnicities, and to just explore music. Also to be able to perform, various kinds of music now. It's not just the core classical, but there's more and more female composers now, which is really great. I think that's still something that has to develop is, orchestras or promoters programming more and more female compositions. And I think for audiences to introduce something new along with still, keeping up the great classics. There's no denying how fantastic all the compositions are from, the legendary male composers, but that's not to say that there isn't room for female composers. When I program my repertoire, it's something that I'm thinking about more and more these days, about the diversity of the music I choose, what kind of composition it is, who it's by, all of that. I think it's just about having a certain amount of awareness. Sometimes it's not entirely possible to, put together a kind of wish list program of including, all types of diversity. But at least if you're aware of it as an artist, then you can plan and kind of, move things along in a direction that hopefully does encompass that diversity. Previously, it was more difficult for a single organization or a single orchestra to kind of get that ball rolling when no one else around is really conscious of that. So I think that's what's also really important for orchestras or organizations, to make sure they hire a good balance between, female artists, male artists, conductors, composers, for these kids who are really excited to learn music, and no matter what gender they are, they can look up to these artists. When I was growing up, some of my mentors or my teachers would talk about the female sound and the male sound, which I always thought that was really ridiculous, because, it's like people would start to compare what's better, or that there are certain repertoire that a male can play better than a female. just because of their figure and their stamina and the way they're built. And I always thought that was the most ludicrous thing ever, because how can you compare whether it's better or worse? It's different for sure. People are entitled to their opinion, but I think every artist, no matter what gender they are, have something special and unique to offer to the piece, and it's just going to be represented in a different way, yes, but I don't think you could say that, oh, that's because he's a male and he's built that way and he's 2 times bigger than the female. I hope that instructors now are a little bit more knowledgeable about, sound making and music making in general. And I think it's really good that we're living in a moment of awareness, especially for young kids, that they realize that this is a really important topic. And it's not something that one person can change or one story can change. It's something that everyone has to chip in and to be a part of this development. It's across all societies. It affects all of us. So I think that's something that, hopefully this generation will learn about and value and carry it on to the next.